Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. We've all heard that phrase, I serve a mighty God. What's that mean? I serve a mighty God. I think sometimes we forget the power that God has. And I was thinking about that this morning, and there's a parable in the Bible. You'll find it in Matthew, the 9th chapter, verses 20 and 21. And also again in Mark, the 5th chapter, 25 through 34. And I like the version in Mark a little bit better. It goes into a little bit more detail about the woman who touched Jesus. Just all she said to herself was, if I can just touch the hem of his cloak, I'll be well. The passage talks about a woman, it says, starting in 25, that she had been hemorrhaging for 12 years and had endured much at the hands of many physicians and had spent all that she had and was not helped at all, but had rather grown worse. A lot of time that happens in our everyday lives. We struggle with illnesses in one way or another, and we're out of fortune in trying to get well. Now, I'm not bashing physicians. I'm not bashing medical in any way, but I'm just talking about where we put our faith in makes a huge difference. I mean, we have faith in our doctors because they went to school and they're smart and they're wise and they know medical stuff. But even every now and then, things will happen that'll even baffle the doctors when it comes to illnesses, and they just can't explain it. And we've all heard the stories, or we've had family members that have been deathly ill, and then lo and behold, they go back to the doctor and it's all cleared up. You can't explain it. But as a Christian, I can see that can happen. I can understand that can happen by having faith in God and believing that He'll heal you. Now, it doesn't mean that's going to happen every time, and it might not happen how we like, but it can happen, and it does happen. Just like with this woman who's bleeding. Jesus is in a crowd, so there's many people touching him, but they focus on this woman. And I'm sure others in the crowd didn't even think the power that Jesus had, or they would have done the same thing. And as he's going through the crowd, she says in verse 27, after hearing Jesus, she came up in the crowd behind him and touched his cloak. And she was saying, for she thought, if I just touch his garments, I'll get healed. So think about that. We serve a mighty God. This woman who had been sick for years and spent a fortune on trying to get well, her mindset was, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, not even grab a hold of it, just barely touch it, I'm going to get well. And immediately the flow of blood was dried up, and she felt her body that was healed of her affliction. And this part of it I like, because Jesus, it says in verse 30, immediately Jesus, perceiving in himself that the power proceeding from him had gone forth, and turned around in the crowd and said, who touched my garment? So Jesus even knew something had happened without seeing it. And the disciples are saying, what do you mean? We're in a crowd. Who knows who touched it? And the woman, in verse 33, but the woman, fearing and trembling, aware of what she had happened to her, and fell down before him, told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed with your affliction. He didn't say he did it. He said her faith. So we have to remember that. Our faith plays a huge role in our walk in Christ and how we go about it. And faith is something that's very difficult to, I don't even know how to explain, to achieve or to get to the point of, even like this woman, believing that if all she did was touch the hem of his garment, she could be healed. But then you might think, well, if I have faith and he doesn't heal me, then my faith is weak. No, we have to remember everything is done in God's time and according to God's will. So just because this parable in the Bible talks about the woman touching the hem of his garment and being healed, and then he tells her faith is what healed her, that doesn't mean the next time you or I get sick and we have faith in God that he's going to heal us, and it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that our faith was weak. What it means is it wasn't God's plan for us to be well. I mean, like I said, everything happens in God's time and according to his purpose. But what I'm getting at this morning is her mindset was, and her faith was so strong that that's all she felt like she needed to do was just to touch the hem of his garment. And we all have those days where if we can just run into another brother or sister in Christ and have a conversation, that's all I need to get through the day. Or we pass somebody and without realizing it, and at the end of the conversation, they say, thank you, I needed this. This helps me through the day. So we can heal or help each other in many different ways without ever realizing it, just by the faith we have and the strength and walk we have with Christ. So, like somebody told me the other day, you'll never know when you meet an angel. And this is true. God comes to us in many different ways, and we might not recognize it till after we part paths with somebody we've been visiting with. So, if you want to read this parable, it's in Mark, the 5th chapter. It starts at 25 and it goes down to about 35 or so. But just think about that today. Is your faith as strong as this woman's, that all she felt like she needed to do was touch the hem of his garment to be healed? Or are you working on your faith to get it there? It's something that, we hear talk about, and people say, oh, it's, faith, it's easy. Well, it's not easy. It's, it's something you got to work at, and you get challenged at daily. And as I've mentioned before, there's a spiritual battle continually going on between good and evil, God and Satan, and we have to choose who we're going to follow. And that comes with our walk in faith and following him. And the more we study his word and dig into his word and try our best to serve him as humanly possible, our faith gets stronger. So have a great day.